Hull to Haddon Hall by Lauren van Schaik. Mick's gold lame jumpsuit reeked of sweat, of beer, of that gummy stage makeup in the armpits and down the crotch. He noticed when he shimmied into it in the green room, zipping it to his sternum. He could have had it washed, he imagined, but could you dry clean a thing like that? He couldn't imagine picking it up in a swishy, loud garment bag, the winking looks from behind the counter. He couldn't imagine even being in a dry cleaner or a laundrette, watching the gold lame spin like an astronaut tumbling in a rocket ship, like a man washing his mum's best Debenhams dress. And anyway, there hadn't been time for any washing, with their nightly reel of gigs and festivals, the old grey whistle test, and now Top of the Pops. Pinch him, they were on the beam. They beamed into everyone and their nan's sitting rooms, like the moonwalk, like Ted Heath, like all his rock heroes. He remembered watching the Yardbirds on this show, face pressed so close to the screen that his hair staticked, so he could see Jeff Beck's fingers ripple. It barely even mattered that Mick was going on with a man that Melody Maker had recently called as camp as a row of tents. And Mick's dad had called, well, never mind what Mick's dad had called him. 10-minute warning, dark fringe and a clipboard angling round the green room door. There had been other costume suggestions, of course. David was fizzing with them like hangover aspirin in a glass. Turquoise suits, knitted catsuits with half the arms and legs missing, designed that way by some Japanese guy. A pig-printed baby grow he and Angie should have put their kid in, who was always naked. Silk dresses, David insisted, were actually designed for men as he swooned around in them, acting like some Arthurian legend or Elizabeth Taylor. All the sort of thing that would get a man punched or worse if he ever wore it north of Watford. The type of thing the women would never even dream of wearing if they knew what was good for them. Today, when Mick saw him during the sound check, David was in a quilted fluorescent jumpsuit and platform boots that matched his tin spaghetti hair, looking like Willy Wonka or a headache more than an extraterrestrial. Mick didn't trust David's ideas about Mars. Hey, pretty boy, stop admiring yourself. Trevor elbowing him away from the mirror. He was trying to get the slap out of his silver-dyed sideburns. He was in moon boots and a blue jumpsuit, shimmering even under the green room lights. But that blue was the colour of an American sports car, and Trevor had clung to those bushy, dangling sideburns by letting Angie bleach and tint them chrome. Mick should have thought of that, but he squinted again in the mirror over Trevor's head. Would a green-dyed moustache have let him hang on to any of his tattered masculinity? God, you stink, Trevor said. That helped, Mick thought. He sniffed, and it was a little like the smell of his Hull Corporation overalls when he dropped them into his mother's hamper on Friday evening after a week of tending to municipal hedges and football pitches, crusted with dirt, a yeast of sweat and beer baked into the fabric, and the cloying scent of mulch hanging over all that like a tart's perfume. That smell was present even after the hamper lid clammed shut. It would follow him down the stairs. But his mum had concoctions, aerial powder and bleach. And somehow the overalls were always returned to him on Sunday evening, scrubbed, sometimes stitched, and smelling faintly of candy floss and the breeze on their estate. And his girlfriend up there, Denise, she liked the reek on him, said as she lay back on the settee in her mum's sitting room and shivered off her cardigan, it made him smell like a man. But Denise was gone, and after just a week in London, a week at Haddon Hall, a week of David and Angie swapping outfits and playing sex games and seances in the parlour, a week of sleeping on a harem spread of mattresses on the landing, and then there had been the incident with the mimes. Mick had begged, although in retrospect not as hard as he could have. He could have got down on his knees, but the carpet was covered in Chinese pottery, most of it recruited as ashtrays, and a stranger yet, a little man with a handbag, was pretending to sleep on the couch. Finally, he and Denise had it out under the gingerbread moulding on the porch. You know, I don't agree with this either. The costumes, the noise. Denise, please. Oh, there are parts of this you do agree with. In the end, he hadn't been able to get the white mime makeup out of the crotch of his jeans, or explain it away. And Denise had gone back up north. It was the first time he'd ever wished he knew how to do laundry. He last saw her at the coach station, suitcase with all her clothing swinging under her belly, and within a month she was phoning him from Hull Royal Infirmary, saying his son had been born and she was naming him Nicholas. He had a few photos of Nicholas, sent down second-class post, the envelope dirty like it had been stepped on. He kept one in his guitar case for a while, but it got crumpled where it folded, colours rainbowing like petrol spilled on a road. He should look for the other photographs, see where they'd got to. They'd seemed to just drift off into the occult jumble of Haddon Hall, with the silver-painted ceilings, the Buddhists and swappable boyfriends always traipsing through, and David's brother fresh off a sectioning, ranting in the kitchen. No, Denise had been right. It wasn't a good scene for a kid, or even Polaroids of him. He wasn't sure what David and Angie were doing there with the kid themselves, named like a toy robot, toddling around between the amps and the dragging velvet curtains. Angie never paid him much attention. She was too busy goading David in his manias for Kabuki, or was it Kubrick, depending on the week, for mime, all those things luring him away from rock and roll. Too busy making acrobatic noises from their bedroom, carried all the way down the acre-long hallway, even over the new T-Rex, and revving the sewing machine in the turreted parlour, whipping up more girly, outrageous costumes for them all. Mick, darling, in that American voice. Can I measure your thighs? In the mirror, Trevor wrinkled his nose. Can't you wash that thing? They'll smell you through the television. That made Mick smile. All those kids with their eyes superglued to the BBC, sniffing something more than their mother's beans and mash, something that wasn't David's patchouli and French perfume, something that wasn't Stardust either. Mick actually imagined that space smelled like chemicals, like emptiness, like Elnet in Denise's hair, in David's and his man's. No, this was something earthier than that, ripening from the edges of Hull. 5 minutes, lads. The lass from the BBC again, her voice gently chiding. With spiders, love. Trevor said, half swagger, half mocking it all. Yeah, from Mars, isn't it? The door squeaked open further. That's what it says here. Her finger nail tapped on the clipboard. Nice of you to come all this way. Where are you from, love? Mick turned and she was blowing that fringe off her pretty forehead, saying, Basingstoke, lowering the clipboard to show jumpered tits. And she was looking at him, more than she was Trevor and his basset hound face. Of course she was. You have eyelashes like a cow, Angie had told Mick just last week. Some weird American fetish, he thought. Angie was full of them farm animals this time. But when he let her stroke mascara onto his eyelashes, he couldn't deny girls looked at him even more. And they'd always looked at him. He'd had his pick of lasses on the Greatfield estate, of all his sister Maggie's friends, of David's fey mime crew leaving their white makeup